All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Sarah. I'm Caitlin Cooper, and I'm one of the librarians at Delgado Community College. I am the collection development librarian, and today at Hear Me Out, One Librarian's Journey with Disability, I'm going to talk about uh, how we should increase usage and instruction on using the accessibility tools that are available through our databases, and also increasing empathy and awareness for patrons with disabilities. And I'm going to show you some of the accessibility features of the databases and kind of point out that there's more people that can benefit from those than we might think. So we're going to look at a few of the databases, but first let me tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm an academic librarian, as we know, and I have hearing loss. And so I'm going to talk to you about some of the tools and features that I use to help me with some of my duties. And one of those is the tool we're using right now, Zoom. And I was very excited for the few months in 2020 when we were working from home and started using Zoom extensively, because one of the nice things about Zoom, at least with my level of hearing loss, is that if I have earbuds in my ears and the volume on the computer all the way up, I don't have a problem hearing. Plus, people tend to talk one at a time and there's less ambient noise. So what that means is that it helps me. I can hear. And there's also captions and transcripts that are helpful, as well as, of course, the chat that's embedded in Zoom. And one of these things I always think about when we have the big convocation meeting at the beginning of a major semester is that the only time I could really hear all of that was when we had it on Zoom. But another thing that we do is chat reference. We've always done chat reference, and I love it. No, before I was a librarian, back when I was getting my history degree, I worked for a phone answer service and entered orders a lot, and my typing speed is really good. And I also process text well. So the live chat chat reference is something I really enjoy doing, and I find that I'm always happy to answer one of those. We do also have Zoom incorporated into our live chat. So if somebody needs more involved assistance, where you actually need to show them how to navigate to whatever resource they're having an issue with, you can always do that. Share your screen to them or have them share their screen to you, and the Zoom widget can be helpful with that sort of thing. But most times I find that you don't need to do that. Most things can simply be answered in the chat, because most of the time they're not formatting their database login correctly. So, and also another thing is inexpensive over-the-counter hearing aids. So in 2021, the Biden administration signed an executive order allowing for over-the-counter hearing aids. And so you can get them for several $100s, generally at the most. And these do help. They're not perfect. And they're not in every store, but you can readily get them from Amazon. And I do have a pair, and it does help a lot. So just as a personal note, this is something that I use to help myself. And since I mentioned convocation earlier, one of the ways that those are not perfect is that even though they're actually better than an expensive prescription one where they molded my ear and everything, I got the inexpensive end of that, like in 2015, and those lasted me until 2020. But the little over-the-counter ones, which are a third the price, they are better with the background noise than those were. So I will say that. So anyway, but convocation does have the background noise. So even though these are better than the ones before were, it still can be an issue. That's why I like Zoom meetings. Okay, so let's get to the meat of the matter here and talk about some of these accessibility functions on the databases. And I've been incorporating these into the bibliographic instruction modules that I teach. And I think that has helped in a number of ways to drive interest in interactivity into these modules. So one thing, and at the end of the session, I will go back to that title slide because it has a QR code that will give you a link back here. And so I have these little embedded videos to show you exactly how to do these. You may already know, but this is kind of how I show students when I'm in a bibliographic instruction session. So I'm going to do a little search right now to show you about that. And this is for the EBSCOhost databases. And so I'm going to go ahead and use as an example, go to the databases here, academic search complete. And normally I would go into the whole advanced search thing, but I'm not going to do that right now, except to put this to subject and full text and fast 5 years. Okay. Here we go. So let's just look at this one here as an example. And one of the things that I do like about the EBSCOhost databases is they offer this audio narration, and this can be helpful to patrons or indeed faculty or staff that have issues with vision. And I actually was assisting a faculty member working on a dissertation years ago that had a vision disability, and this really helped them out. And so you just go to these little headphone icon up here and hit play.
One review hearing loss and Turner.
Okay, so, and you can adjust the volume. You can even download the MP3. And I think that can be a nice function if a patron wanted to download the MP3 to listen to later offline or something of that nature. And so
Syndrome,
this is
a scoping review. Andrea Migliorelli won. And
a really useful thing to do. And if this was one of the articles that was available in the HTML full text as well as the PDF, you could see the little highlights highlighted text as it does its reading. So that is a useful thing in regards to the EBSCOhost databases. And you can just listen to your article. And this can be helpful for not just for people with visual disabilities, but it can be useful for, like, many of our students have busy lives, right? I don't know if any of you like audiobooks as much as I do. I got into them when I was working full time and going to grad school. And that was the only way I could get stories. So if you're busy, let's say you have a patron, a student that's going to school and a single parent and they're commuting and all this stuff, they can actually listen to their articles while they're doing something else. And that can be a helpful option just for people with a time crunch going on. And if you have a multitasker patron that needs to be able to multitask, this can be a way for them to consume those articles. And there is also a translate option. On the EBSCOhost databases. That's not necessarily an accessibility as in disability type of situation, but that is something that you can be aware of for any students that may require that. So if you go to your article, this is clinical profile in response to recombinant growth hormone in girls with Turner syndrome. And if you go up here to the little world symbol, and this is only on EBSCOhost online full text availability. But if you click on the translate, let's translate this to Espanol. And there you go. And if you have a diverse student body or group of patrons of whatever kind, this can be a very helpful feature to remember. That is about all for the issues with EBSCOhost that the accessibility features that they offer on that particular family of databases. However, one thing I will say is that they do offer this little accessibility support contact button here. If you see the little person in the circle on the top right, you can just put preferred name and email address and format you'd prefer to be contacted by Microsoft Word or HTML, and they will get back to you or your patron that needed more accessibility help than what they offer on the EBSCOhost databases. So let's look at films on demand now. And films on demand is kind of the inverse of the textual EBSCOhost databases, and that, of course, it's videos. So what they offer is captions. So let's look up this Shakespeare, just to show you an example. This is Picturing Shakespeare, Secrets of the Dead. It's this fun PBS feature about this portrait that is probably Shakespeare painted when he was young in his lifetime. And they go into the whole thing. But, and of course, all you do here is they have the transcript on the right. And you can close that out if you wanted. But they also have captions, this little CC down here. You can enable or disable as you wish. And you can choose extended audio description if you want, or disable audio description. And the transcript you can download or print. So if you had a patron that preferred to, there you go. If you had a patron that prefers to read rather than listen to the video, for whatever reason, that can be a thing. If you have a patron that has trouble hearing the video and doesn't want to follow the captions, they can read the transcript.
Viewers like you make this program possible. Support your local PBS station.
There's the
a man with quite a high forehead.
The bald head.
Well, I'm afraid.
And that's the what the captions look like there. And so they do offer the transcript and the captions and the downloading the transcript or printing of the transcript on films on demand. And that is a very useful thing, I think. And again, it can help people other than those that have a disability of some kind that would make the reading easier for them than the listening to a video. But it can just be somebody that simply prefers that and doesn't want to sit and look at a video, but can read the transcript more quickly to get the information. So I like to compare these things to the accessibility push buttons on doors. You don't have to be in a wheelchair to use those. And they can help for any number of reasons, like carrying a bucket of journals that came in the mail from the mailroom to the library, and you can just push the button or even use your elbow, right? So, I mean, it helps everybody, not just somebody that may not be physically capable of pushing the door. Same thing with this. So that is always something I like to point out. And so we showed downloading a transcript. And Gale Group, the Gale Group databases are, I think, real stars as far as giving you all kinds of options to play with that text. So let's look at Gale Group Global Issues, just as an example here. issues of interest. Let's just not even do a search. Let's just look at this one as an example. El Nino and La Nina. Because we are having an El Nino that just started, that weather pattern. So this could be of interest. So look at the read overview just as fun here. And so let me show you what you can do with the text here. You can change your font size, line spacing, letter spacing, word spacing, and text background, as well as your actual font. So you can make the font smaller with this little A down arrow. You can make the font larger with this big A down arrow. And here you can make your background gray or peach or lime. Instead of just plain white, you can change your font from Open Sans to EB Garamond, Open Dyslexic, or Noto Sans. And here's something else that you can do is you can change your line spacing more, letter spacing more, even word spacing more, like that. You put that back to default. Now, of course, we also have, as well as ways to play with your text on Gale, we have the read aloud option. That's that little speaker symbol right here. And you can certainly download.
El Nino and La Nina. El Nino and La Nina. El Nino and La Nina.
You can download
the El Nino Southern Oscillation, ENSO. El Nino and La Nina.
Okay. You can
the El Nino Southern Oscillation, ENSO. Refer El Nino and La Nina.
Ah, here we go. Sorry about that. You can download the MP3. And one other thing that you can do here is notice that, and this will
El
be
Nino and La Nina.
talking, but if you notice,
the El Nino Southern Oscillation, ENSO, refers to episodic climate patterns that arise from interacting oceans.
You can actually enlarge the text within that if you need to. While it follows along, you'll notice that it highlighted the text it was talking about. And so you can do that. And again, you can download that MP3 and listen to it offline if you wish. So it does have that read aloud option as well. And other popular Gale databases like Opposing Viewpoints, which is a personal favorite of mine. Let's look at the public transportation one as an example. See, it looks pretty much the same as we saw on global issues. Same play with the text options, same little read aloud options. And the translate article, which I didn't show you in global, but it has it. If you go to this little symbol right here, you can translate the article from English to Spanish. I'll show that example. There we go. So, and as I've been saying, accessibility does help everyone here. People with hearing loss, which is more people than you'd think. Approximately 15% of American adults, 37.5 million, ages 18 and over, report some trouble hearing. This is from the quick statistics about hearing from the NIH, National Institute on Deafness and Other Communication Disorders. And then we have people with vision impairment. And based on weighted self-reported surveys, we estimated that 24.8 million persons, 7.7%, had presenting visual impairment or blindness. And This is from the National Library of Medicine, PubMed Central, National Center for Biotechnology Information. And then we have people with dyslexia. And studies suggest that as many as 20% of people in the United States have dyslexia, which accounts for up to 90% of learning disabilities. And a fun fact, a childhood friend of mine had a younger brother, and this was back in the early 90s when he went to college. They gave him all his textbooks and audiobook. And I forget what college he went to, but it was a very good college. And so it's wonderful that we have all these features on the databases now. So, and this is from Untangling Dyslexia Myths and Misconceptions from the American Psychological Association. All right, and as I was saying before, anybody that needs to multitask can benefit from some of these features. Particularly the read aloud feature for the articles, I think, and the downloading of the MP3. And this is from our very own Delgado that is talking about each year 2.1 million single mothers enroll in higher education. And 90% were low income, 43% worked more than 30 hours a week, and 40% said they were likely or very likely to drop out due to dependent care obligations. So maybe being able to listen to an article or a book while doing something else might help busy students like that. And of course, there's different learning styles. My bachelor's is in social studies education. And so I kind of vaguely remember from 30 years ago learning about all the different learning styles. And this is just something from Bay Atlantic University that kind of goes into 8 types of learning styles. And you have your visual learning, auditory learning, kinesthetic, reading, writing, and so forth and so on. And what can we do to promote accessibility? Teach the students. And that's one thing I like to do is demonstrate these accessibility features, kind of like I did with you guys in the bibliographic instruction modules, because like I say, you have more patrons, you may need to use them than you realize, and it kind of gives more of an interest to the class. It gives them something different that they may not have thought about. And I think it makes it a little more interactive for them, gives them something else to show them that the databases can be very functional. And I demonstrated the first to a respiratory therapist class that I had. And tell the faculty, I'm a big proponent of bibliographic instruction for faculty, because I think that if you teach them and get them to have a positive relationship with the library, they will bring the students. And so in that vein, I did a session at Spring Convocation 2026 to familiarize faculty with these features. This was back in January. And there's my badge for it. And it also encourages the faculty to think about accessibility, which I think is an important thing. And just shows them library resources in general. And captioning your videos. We make little instructional videos on various things, mostly using the databases for our YouTube channel. And my good colleague, Daniel DuPont, make sure we have nice, clean captions for those YouTube videos, because the auto caption on YouTube can be pretty bad, especially if you have a New Orleans accent. So, you make sure that those are good to go. Offer Zoom with possible. I like, I've said before, throughout, I like to do my sessions on Zoom. A colleague, Dustin Derrickson, he does his sessions hybrid when he can. He's very good with that. And I did a health sciences resources presentation with my colleague Courtney in the spring, as you see here, and that was on Zoom. And I also did one on showing them how to organize digital files. And so in conclusion, I wanted to raise awareness of some of the tools available to increase the accessibility of our library resources, as well as pointing out that more people than you think would find them useful. As librarians, we can make both ourselves and our patrons familiar with these features and make sure our resources are as accessible as possible for all. And so thank you all very much. And time for questions.